Aloha, I'm Rev.Tim Lytle, Senior Minister here at Unity Church of Hawaii in Honolulu. And we are so grateful for all of you who watch us on our YouTube channel. We know with you that as you view these teachings and apply them to your lives, that it helps to build your life into the very best one that can be imagined. If you're ever in the area, please come and join us for a service, and please enjoy the message that you're about to watch. Aloha.
Thank you. Thank you. So good to have you here. We're looking today at new birth, new name. You know, when a baby is born, typically the baby is given a name. I say typically. Sometimes it takes a while for people to come up with the name for the baby. But a baby is typically a new representation of this divine coming into the world. And sometimes people choose a name based on the way the name sounds. Or back in the times of the Hebrew and Christian scriptures, people received a name based on an attribute that they had. Now, I was named in such a way. I was named Timothy, which in the Greek, Timotheos. Timotheos means one who honors God. And so that was my prayer and the hope of my parents that I would grow up being that. So, you know, there are a few bumps, but yes. So sometimes a name is given to help call you into a new attribute or a new way of being. Now, some examples of that. In the Hebrew scriptures, we have this character by the name of Jacob. Now, Jacob was a twin, and when they were being born, Jacob reached out his hand and grabbed his twin brother's heel to try to get ahead of him, okay? And so he was given the name Jacob, which means heel grabber, usurper, opportunist, trickster, because they saw him as one to watch out for. This is one that's going to try to sneak his way through. And sure enough, Jacob ended up being this trickster. He managed to trick his brother Esau out of his birthright. He managed to, through duplicity, to sneak out that birthright. And so at one point he was running for his life from his brother Esau. Esau wanted to kill him, his own brother. So this laid the foundation for a spiritual transformation. Nothing like having some adversarial situation in your life to help you to go deeper. If you have some challenges that you've been facing in the year 2018, thanks be to God, because that can be the impetus, the motivation for you to go even deeper, to grow. Evidently, life is not meant just to be all comfortable, but the challenge is so that we grow and grow deeper. So Jacob was camping as he was running for his life, and this being showed up, which he saw as being an angel, and he wrestled with the angel all night long. That's a long wrestling match. A couple of nights ago, I was at Punahou School, and I heard all kinds of commotion going on in the gym, and I went down to see what was going on. And I love real wrestling, you know, the real collegiate style wrestling. Okay? Because there's a lot of strategy to it, a lot of strength and endurance to it. And so here were 3 mats going at the same time with high schoolers wrestling, and they were doing such an amazing job. And I began watching and thinking, there's something different about these wrestlers. They're all young women. When I was in high school, they didn't have women's wrestling, you know? I mean, we called that something else. Anyway. Okay. So I thought, wow, this is amazing to watch all of this wrestling. And if you've ever been a wrestler, I mean, 3 minutes of wrestling can be one of the most exhausting things you've ever done in your life because it's using all the muscles you've got. You find out muscles that you didn't even know you had. So here was Jacob wrestling all night long. And the angel said to him, you need to let me go. Jacob said, I will not let you go until you bless me. You've got to let me go. I'm hanging on. And the angel said, you've got to let me go before daybreak. No, not until you bless me. And then the angel threw his hip out of socket, which is an illegal wrestling move, by the way. And the angel said to him, your name has been Jacob, but from now on it will be Israel. That's where we get the name Israel, which means prince with God, because you have prevailed with God and won. So who was he wrestling with? Have you ever wrestled with God? Have you ever wrestled with that presence that was wanting to express in some new way? Have you ever wrestled with what you knew was calling you to a higher level of living? Have you ever wrestled with that? So this time in Jacob's life was a time of transformation, and because of it, he received a new name. Let's jump to the Christian scriptures. The scriptures are full of these name changes. So there's this man named Saul, and Saul means living by the personal will, living by the sense-based will, living by the ego-based will, okay? And Charles Fillmore talks about this, and Charles Fillmore says that if we are living that way, we cannot experience regeneration. Charles Fillmore, the co-founder of the Unity movement, talks a lot about regeneration. It means to have a new birth, to have a new way of being. And as long as we are basing our will and our consciousness on the material condition, as long as we are basing it on those methodologies that we have learned in this dimension to try to get ahead of someone else and try to put someone else down, as long as we use the consciousness of bullying, intimidation, and trying to get our way regardless of what happens to others, if we are doing that, we are living based on the sense consciousness. We are doing what Charles Fillmore said prevents regeneration. If you read Charles, he's straight up. He's straight up. He's not all flowery. And the spiritual life is not always easy. It's about commitment. It's about dedication. And so we have this man by the name of Saul. And he was a Pharisee. And I love the Pharisees, okay? I mean, let's not put the Pharisees down. The Pharisees were a renewal movement in Judaism, the Jewish people. And the Pharisees were trying to get the Jewish people back to the law after they had been exiled in places like Babylon. And so they were trying to bring Judaism back to life. But the thing with the Pharisees is that sometimes they got so focused on their interpretation of the law, they missed the spirit of it. Sometimes they got so focused on being right that they could not have compassion. Saul was one of those. And he saw this new group coming up. It was called The Way at that time. They weren't even called Christians yet, but it became what became known as Christianity. And Saul said, man, I got to snuff these people out. I don't agree with what they're doing. I need to drag them in front of synagogues. I need to drag them in front of tribunals. I need these guys to be straightened out. Saul was sure he was right. The first Christian to be killed and martyred was Stephen. And so the day after Christmas was St. Stephen's Day. And Stephen was killed and stoned to death. And Paul was like, Saul. His name was Saul at that time. Saul was saying, let me hold your coats. Let me hold your cloaks while you stone him to death. And he went from place to place to have people killed who he thought were in error. So he was riding on a donkey. You know what? Donkeys are many times in scriptures, the animal is called an ass. And so Saul was riding to Damascus to have more Christians persecuted, and a bright light appeared and knocked him off of his donkey. And this bright light said to him, why are you persecuting me? And he's like, who are you? I'm not persecuting you. And the voice came back, I'm Jesus of Nazareth. I'm Jesus the Christ. I'm the one you're persecuting. And Paul went into this transformation process. So if you are going through a difficult time in your life, if there are areas in your life that you are being stretched, just know that you are preparing for greater spiritual transformation. You are preparing for some greater yet to be. If there are problems in your life, give thanks for that. I know it's not easy. Doesn't mean you just stay in it, but give thanks for what is going on because it is leading you to deeper transformation. As I heard and as I've said before, I'm not here to only comfort the afflicted. I am here to afflict the comfortable. If you are comfortable, if you are just trying to get by and just trying to skate through, I have news for you. Life has been engineered with this amazing program to upset the apple cart and to get you to go deeper into the presence of Spirit, to get you to really seeking God, to get you to really seeking what is real. It's beautiful. So if you encountered some rough times in 2018, praise be to God. I know it's rough, and especially if you've had some very big losses in your life. If you lost someone important to you, or a relationship, or some health challenge. I'm not making light of that. I'm not making light of that at all. But that can be the impetus for new growth. It's not the end of your life. It's the start of something amazing. It's the start of a new life. It's a start of a new chapter. It's a start of a new book. You don't have to be the same as you always were. I remember someone saying to me, what's wrong with you? You're not the way you used to be. Thanks be to God. Our goal in life is not just to stay the same. Our goal in life is not just to sit back and, let's just try to get through life without being known, without my name being known. Let me just get through this. That's not why we're here. We're here to live life out loud. We're here to really live from that presence of Spirit within. We are here to align with the divine. We are here to open ourselves and serve God. We are here to serve God in each other. We are here to be the presence in action. We are here to wake up. Not to just coast. So, Saul went to this, he's blinded. He went to this house. He's praying. He's fasting. He's like, oh man, he's really seeking what to do. And this man named Ananias gets this vision, this voice that says, hey, I'd like you to go to such and such a house, and there's a guy by the name of Saul. And he's praying, and, he's going through a transformation. I need you to go over there and pray with him so that he recovers his sight and so that he becomes an instrument for me. And Ananias, this is my translation, okay? Ananias is like, no way. This guy is like killing Christians. Why are you asking me to go there? And God's like, way. Because he is established as my servant, as my instrument. So Ananias obeyed, went over there. So glad Ananias did. So glad Ananias could get over his prejudices. So glad Ananias could get over his resentments. So glad he could be the avenue and the vessel of someone else's transformation and leave his own ego-based opinions aside. How about you? And so, Saul had this amazing spiritual experience and was told, your name is no longer Saul, but is now Paul. Saul is like based in that sense consciousness, willful. Paul is the will based on divine principle, based on God, based on spirituality. So those attributes that we have, they're not bad. Whatever your attributes are, they're not bad. Whoever you are, you're not bad. It's how we use them. It's how we employ it. So Paul became this person who then became a champion for that which he had been trying to defeat. So a name change signified a change of heart, signified a change of being, signified a new birth. I want to read to you from the book of Revelation, chapter 2, verse 17. He who has an ear, it's not about having an ear, let me explain that. It's about really listening. The one who really can listen, the one who can listen with the ear of the heart. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. Now this was written during a time of great persecution of Christian churches. Okay? So the book of Revelation, it's not Revelations, the book of Revelation. It's the revelation of St. John the Divine. The book of Revelation is written to people who are being persecuted, going through a rough time. And this is to give them hope, to lift their vision higher. To him who overcomes, I will give the hidden manna to eat. Now, manna was this divine food that was given to the people of the Hebrew people, the people of Israel, when they were wandering in the wilderness, in the desert for 40 years. They were given this sacred food called manna, just as each and every one of us is given manna. Just as Jesus prayed, give us this day our daily bread. We are receiving that spiritual nourishment, that spiritual bread every day, if we will allow it. And I will give him a white stone, and on the stone a new name written, which no one knows except him who receives it. What I have read is that a person, when they were released from prison in that day, would be given a white stone. Or if they had a huge debt and that debt was forgiven or paid for, a white stone. That is, you've done your time. Here's your white stone. You now have a blank slate. And if anyone ever questions whether you're legal, you can pull out your white stone and show them that you are absolved, that you have done your time, that you have a clean slate. There is nothing held against you. What are you holding against yourself? What are you holding against yourself? You can have a clean slate. You can start all over, start fresh. New Year's is all about that, starting fresh. Having that clean slate. and receiving that new name of what it is you want to step into in this new year. What it is that Spirit is leading you to do. What is it? Forgiveness? Love? Living life out loud? No fear? What is it that Spirit is calling you to do? What is your new name? Reverend Johanna Kelly is going to lead us now in the white stone meditation to help us to know, what is my new name? What is it that I am called to be? In this new year, in this new life that is starting right now, what is it that I am called to? I love that song. I had to record that. I thought I need to listen to that once in a while. This is the time of my life. We can choose at any moment for this to be the time of our lives, no matter what is going on in our lives. I remember, this is my message part 2. I remember when I was going through a divorce. I was so sad. I was so shook up. My life seemed to be dissolving in front of my eyes. I remember going into a restroom at the lawyer's office where I could just catch my breath and just weep. And then there was a voice within, honest, that came up and said, "This is your time. This is your time to step into what you're really here to do. This is your time. Yes, we know it feels like everything's being destroyed around you, but we know that this is the time where you are going to rebuild and build something amazing. Hang in there. I am with you. I never leave you or forsake you." And that was true. That presence has always been there and has always blessed me. And even at times when I was living in low-income housing with the mentally ill, and the neighbor next to me was throwing up after he had had too much alcohol and cocaine, I knew that the presence of God was there. And I knew that God was going to make a way. And even when I had only this much money to get by on, I was paying huge amounts of money to the ex and wanting her to have a blessed life. And I was paying off all of these debts that had been incurred that I didn't know anything about. And I was paying them on a low wage, low income housing. I wanted to give to God. And I would go to church each Sunday and I would give to God. I wasn't giving to the church. I was giving to God. And I was saying, you and I are partners in this. You and I have a deal going. I know you're with me, and I am so grateful for all the blessings you give me, and I am not going to forget that. I'm not going to forget that you're always with me, that you are my source. You are my prosperity. You are the way I am making it. And so I would tithe every Sunday. Got all those debts paid off. Income started increasing. I raised the amount I was tithing. Income kept increasing. I kept increasing the amount I was tithing. Income kept increasing. I kept increasing the amount I'm tithing. Because I am in a partnership with God. It's a great deal. Right? Okay, so now you know that when I give from joy. I don't give from a sense of lack or limitation. I've been through hell and back several times, and I know that God is always there. So I'm giving to recirculate this abundance, this good that God has given me. Ushers, so as we take our tithes, our offerings in our hands, place it between your hands or over your heart, repeat after me. I bless my offering. I know God is with me. Nothing can hold me back. I give from joy and I give from thanks. And so it is. Amen.